I've been waiting 15 years to be at a job that finally would listen to what I had to say in regards to our policies, processes, and procedures related to our AutoCAD drafting standards. I started really getting an interest into kind of like the forensics of how the software worked years ago. I just found it fascinating. And there's a lot of nuances to the way you can set up the parameters in which you work. And some are better than others. And you work at places, some better than others. And when you realize that there's better out there, you can have a hard time accepting the subpar of what you are dealt. So for years at my job, I've been trying to get them to level up their templates and the way they use the software. And I've gone through a couple jobs. I've been promised this a couple of times. And this has been the first time I've seen my template finally come into fruition. Other excuses across the board, you know, my department got acquisitioned, oh, and I get fired, oh, you know, I mean, it just happens. I get so close, but now it's been released and it's out into the world. So I used this process for my Toastmasters project to report about how this went. And my experience with my coworkers has been great. I don't think I came across as a fraud to them, as I was new at this location or this job, and yet I step in and I'm like, this stuff sucks, come on guys, we can do better. And usually you get a lot of resistance. People have attachment, you know, emotional, deep attachment to the templates they have created and the processes that they've used, because they did find a way to solve a problem. They just don't want to recognize they found a bad way to solve the problem. And you just can't tell them that they did that directly. So I always try to be like, you know, we could have proved this, right? Get them on board. But I got to say, what went well? My boss and my team were all supportive for the change. I couldn't be more pleased with that. And there was no resistance to my ideas, just to the idea of getting a new template anyway. It was just, yes. The other thing I liked about the process is that it wasn't rushed. Sometimes, you know, in a corporate environment, you want something, you want it now. You got a month to get this thing together. Thank goodness nobody was concerned about that kind of time frame, so it really let us test and beta the processes, which always revealed a ton of things. I mean, it did take months of redoing and commenting and what do you want to make better versus what's wrong, you know, just whatever. And I worked with my coworkers on this. The point of the project with Toastmasters is working with other people, and that's what I did with this. I facilitate a weekly meeting at work, and we kind of mastermind about the things that we need in the template. What works, what doesn't, how do we want it to flow, and as I progressed in making changes, I got to explain to my coworkers all the things I've been doing and why. Because when I asked for feedback at the end, they really liked the idea that I would explain why I chose some of the things that I put into the template. Where could I have done better? In this experience, I think there are two main areas of which I could have done a little bit better. Kind of the same thing, documentation. As you are going through to make a template, you need to know what it is. What fonts did you use? What dimension styles do you have? How are they interdependent on each other? There are a lot of little pieces that get massaged into the way your template works. And I had started on Excel to try to capture a whole bunch of things, but I also know that as I progressed, I started moving faster and faster and stopped doing any documentation. So the documentation's back there. Where I move the template to is up here, and I have got to spend the time to bring this document up to par. Because when it comes time to doing forensics, when files don't work the way they are supposed to, having the proper documentation as to what it needs to be is going to be essential to evaluate what may be wrong. Another area, again with the note-taking, is just general note-taking of what I was doing. Just the small changes that needed made. So this way I could kind of learn a little bit more about what was being done. I just kind of flew through it at a certain point, like, oh, here's a change, wrote it on a side piece of paper, made the change, threw the paper away. So I didn't get to keep all of those, but in the end, I would say I really liked the experience of this project. I got support from my boss and my peers, and I couldn't have asked for anything better on that. I was able to identify an area of weakness for me, which is my documentation. I know the value of it, and I look forward to getting it up to par, because I will be so mad later if I don't. And in the scheme of things, you know, this is a living document. This will never be a fully complete template, because as the technology and the software changes, so must we, so must our policies and procedures, and I'm just really excited to be a part of a team that's ready.
Thank you, Hillary. So you talked a little about processes. Well, as an auditor, I look at